Good morning, everybody. Everybody and no one. Trying to get set over here today. Well, today I'm a little early than usual. I'm trying to figure out a way to stay really consistent, but also reach different audiences if I can. Um, Anyways, thank you for tuning in live. If you have any questions, please ask. Feel free to do so. Um, what you're seeing right here, is a combination of a number of different schools of art that I'm been slowly picking up with what's accessible to me as an artist, as an individual, um, tapping into different parts of my life where I embarked on a creative journey with either the tech stack that I had at the time, or just, you know, intentions, whatever it is that drove me. So this is a combination of a bit of my love for architecture. When I studied architecture back in high school, I did it for 3 years. I was in their like tech program, and back then we did everything in the drafting table, even though it was 2006 and a lot of schools were already transitioning. A lot of schools were transitioning to um, just teaching everything on computers, right? 2006, you'd think. But our school was a little bit behind on just the infrastructure. It was a really old building, and just even what was available for technology capabilities. So when I graduated high school, they were getting a new school, and even then, though, once the teacher told me that I had to switch from the drafting table to the computer, I just didn't want to do it. Uh, so when I started doing abstractions, I started doing these drawings. I'll show you right here on my little grid pad. Um, Little architectural drawings almost, right? Where, as you can see here, you can see. But you're kind of like connecting the dots, and you're trying to sculpt on a plane, 2D, like space, right? You know what I mean? Like there's a certain art to painting on a flat surface, and therefore this is like a combination of me trying to bring in all of these things into life between the architectural concept of designing and defining on the flat surface and connecting the dots on the void that's in front of you with no tech, nothing assisting you. You're using just basic rules of thought and what you can do, the basic shapes, um, and then right now I'm also into calligraphy, and these sort of have the calligraphy strokes that I'm practicing and encompassing each in the steps because as a beginner in calligraphy, you have to really master the pen, the tip, and that particular tip that you're doing, the particular letter form. You know, calligraphers, yes, I guess if you do a bunch of different letter types and forms and whatnot, it's great, but they tell you to only master one to three of them. I'm trying to do one, and that's black letter or Gothic, whatever you want to call it. Um, some people call it I've heard it black letter, I've heard it Gothic style, so um, it's very, very different. In this book, they call it Gothic. Um, but I've also took a long online course where they also call it black letter, unless I should do more research. The Gothic group, unless black letter is under the Gothic group. But anyways, it's beautiful. The old ways of doing things. Um, I was doing a lot of the painting stuff that I got into. I did it on the iPad first. I was using Adobe Fresco, and then at the time I was also reading a book where the writer emphasized the need for the artist to create with raw materials in a way. For me, at least that's what I took from it. And I was also getting into the whole like light therapy movement where you try to limit your blue light intake. Um, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna tune off the iPad drawings and everything and start actually painting and getting into the things I can do with the material I had in hand. Because I'm very limited. I've always been very limited as far as finances in the recent history. Just not only my personal choices that led me to some trouble, but also business ventures. One of them in particular, most recent, was the cafe that I opened. It had some major success for the time it was open, but when COVID hit me, um, that was rough. I was in debt with the cafe, even though it was successful. Because I took out a business loan because we were doing so well. I was able to have credit because we had a good cash flow. So I took out a business loan literally before fucking COVID hit us. Um, and back then, even with the PPP assistance from the government, I was able to only stay open for about 6 months once the shutdowns happened. And that was really rough. So overnight, I inherited over 50 grand of total debt between the business loan, what I owe the government, and taxes, and personal loans that I took out with my parents. I had to take out a loan just to close the shop, to pay the vendors. It was brutal, brutal. So since then, even though I was able to like get married, have kids. I found someone that loved me enough all the way through, and but I'll tell you, even after all of it, the finances, the burden, still kind of haunted us, the relationship, and even though we had two beautiful kids, you know, I lost my relationship over that too. So when an artist creates with what they have, it's literally everything that they have. Not only their being, the materials that they have access to. It always comes at such a burning cost just for us to exist and create, you know. And as much as you want people to understand or value, unfortunately, it doesn't come into fruition until like you really quote unquote make it as an artist. So I just came to a very interesting conclusion, meditation from everything I just shared with you. If you tuned in earlier, but as much as the artist struggled to often have access to the medium that he so or she chooses to create with, the artists that can create with what they have within the means they have, they're sort of confined to create the most amount of value for the economy in a way that it's using something that the economy didn't value before. Oftentimes you're just taking very simple ingredients that's accessible there and you're elevating the value. Not only financially sometimes if your artwork makes it in the art market, but look at what we're doing here. If you're watching, you're tuning in through YouTube, look at the value you're giving to that platform. Um, Look at the value that I'm giving to Michael's, the local shop where I bought the canvas, bought the ink. Even though it's a corporate company, to me, I'm still purchasing things from my local community, paying them locally, people that work here locally, live here in the town. So that's like on the financial, numerical level, right? As far as the value that it gives me as an individual through purpose is another thing. The value it gives you, the viewer, depending who you are. If you're an artist yourself, if you're someone who's looking to connect, if you're someone who's looking for inspiration in any way, if you're just tuning in to the whole spectacle of humanity, it's giving you value there. It's a whole beautiful symphony when you think about it, when you create art with just a simple intention to create, because it could be your inner voice, could be your curiosity, whatever drives you. But it's a celebration of all existence, not only my personal history, but just the tools that the artists are compelled to create depending on their lives, you know what I mean? The timeline, where they end up, the fact that first off, I'm an immigrant from Brazil here in the United States, residing in New England. It's like crazy how my life came to this point. It was never predestined to any circumstance. Um, it enabled me to just have the access to the materials in front of me. And if I told you really just all the little fine details of the history of this personal visual language that I'm developing, and that's a whole other sector of the economy too that I played a role in. So it's a very interesting conversation if you were to try to define the meaning of the artists and their lives, and what it takes to make it as an artist, and what defines what you make, because honestly the minute you're making the art, it's such a major contribution, you know by the end of it all, by the end of the story, and in the beginning. So there's the meaning of art, of you as the artist, the role you play, the value of art in society. Dude, we can go on. As much as the art can take from me as the artist, sometimes I feel like I should be spending my time elsewhere, right? Especially when you're someone with financial struggles. It's like I should be just working my ass off. But I do work my ass off, lo and behold. After just my kids, me fulfilling different roles. It's an ultimate self-sacrifice, alright. But I love it. I love this. I love just even when I get an hour or 30 minutes, you know. And I love it when I mess up in front of you. It's crazy. It's different. Also, we have a few minutes. Oh, thank you, y'all. I'm glad I had some people tuning in. Greetings from Argentina. Oh, Buenos Aires. Hey, what's up? I have a cousin who lives in Argentina right now. And thank you, Santos, for tuning in, subbing. Yeah, it's definitely a whole explanation for me to tell you exactly what I'm doing here, but I have gone into real depth about the definition, really, in all of the lives, and I try to tune everybody in, but I'm gonna stay on here for another 10 minutes for y'all. But yeah, this is definitely a whole lot to explain, for sure. But I try to go into depth. Pretty much what I'm doing is using abstract expressionism as a way to define the canvas, the scope, the grid. And then I go over with calligraphy strokes and with the architectural mindset, but also trying to practice the calligraphy strokes, but giving it a kind of like a street style, but also like just sculpting and creating almost like a new world for you to decode. It's almost like a metaverse in a way where, you know, it's a whole thing. It's a combination and a whole story here being told. I still don't know how to tell you. But essentially, this is the point of me doing these live, so I can find a way to converse and give what I'm doing more context for everyone. And that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you for tuning in wherever you were today. Had some love from Argentina. That was cool. I think I'm gonna definitely try to reach different time zones. Try to do this in the morning, afternoon, at night. So maybe we can really, I don't know, maybe just get the conversation going and connecting and trying to, you know, drive this further down the line, wherever you are. So, um, thank you for reaching out, subbing, and being a part of this means a whole lot to me. All right? I'll see you next time.